Have you ever wondered why your life has been filled with so much pain, rejection, and struggle? Why were you born into a toxic family that never truly saw your worth? What if I told you that this wasn't a curse, but a calling? That the very battles you've faced were shaping you into something greater? In this video, we're diving deep into the truth about why the chosen ones are placed in broken families. Is it just trauma, or is it a divine gift? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see your entire life. The power of forgiveness. Forgiveness, it's a word we hear often, yet one of the hardest things to truly embrace. When someone deeply wounds us, our natural response is to hold on to the pain, to demand justice, or to wait for an apology that may never come. But what if I told you that forgiveness is not about excusing the wrong or letting someone off the hook? It's about setting yourself free. Too often we think of forgiveness as a favor to the person who hurt us, but in reality it's a gift to ourselves. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Bitterness chains us to the very pain we long to escape. It drains our energy, clouds our thoughts, and keeps us stuck in the past. But when we choose to forgive, we break that chain. We reclaim our power. The truth about forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength. It takes immense courage to release the grip of anger and let go of the desire for revenge. Some people believe that forgiving means allowing toxic people back into their lives, but that's not true. There's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. Forgiveness is about releasing the burden from your heart, while reconciliation requires genuine change and rebuilt trust. God calls us to forgive, but he does not call us to remain in harmful situations. One of the most powerful examples of forgiveness comes from Jesus himself. As he was being crucified, he looked at his executioners and said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Luke 23:34. If the Son of God could forgive those who tortured him, can we not extend that same grace to those who have hurt us? Forgiveness is not something we do because we are strong. It is something we do because his grace is sufficient. How do we begin the journey of forgiveness? It starts with acknowledging the pain. Denying or suppressing our hurt only prolongs the healing process. Bring your wounds before God, knowing that he sees every tear and hears every cry. Then ask for his help. On our own, forgiveness may seem impossible, but as 2 Corinthians 12:9 reminds us, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Next, release the offense. Say it out loud if you must. "Lord, I forgive them. I release this pain into your hands." It may not happen instantly. Some wounds take time to heal, and forgiveness is often a daily choice. But every time you release the pain, you take another step toward freedom. Finally, pray for those who hurt you. It may feel unnatural, but prayer softens the heart. It shifts our focus from anger to healing and allows God to work in both our lives and the lives of those who have wronged us. Forgiveness does not change the past, but it transforms the future. It breaks generational cycles of pain, releases us from emotional prison, and aligns us with God's plan for our lives. When we choose to forgive, we don't just set the offender free, we set ourselves free. Let today be the day you let go. Not for them, but for you. Because you deserve peace, you deserve freedom, and through the power of forgiveness, you will rise higher than ever before, breaking free from toxic family cycles. Some wounds don't just belong to us. They are passed down like an inheritance we never asked for. Generational pain, toxic patterns, and deeply ingrained dysfunction can feel like chains that hold us captive, keeping us stuck in cycles we desperately want to escape. But here's the truth. You are not here to repeat the past. You are here to break free. If you've ever felt like the black sheep of your family, the one who thinks differently, feels deeply, and refuses to conform to the dysfunction, you are not alone. You were placed in that environment for a reason. Not to be destroyed by it, but to overcome it. To be the cycle breaker. Toxic family cycles don't just show up in obvious ways like abuse or neglect. Sometimes they're subtle. limiting beliefs, emotional manipulation, guilt-tripping, or patterns of self-doubt that were ingrained in you from childhood. If you grew up constantly seeking approval, walking on eggshells, or feeling responsible for fixing others, these are signs that the cycle is at work. The first step to breaking free is awareness. You cannot change what you don't recognize. When you begin to see these patterns for what they are, generational programming, you can finally stop blaming yourself. The pain you carry is not your fault, but healing from it is your responsibility. Breaking free doesn't mean fixing your family. It means choosing yourself, choosing healing, peace, and a new way of living. This often requires setting boundaries, which can feel terrifying at first. Saying no to toxicity, even when it comes from those closest to you, is not selfish, it's necessary. And here's something they won't tell you. Guilt is often a tool used to keep you stuck. The moment you decide to rise above dysfunction, some people will try to pull you back in, not because they hate you, but because your growth threatens their comfort. Stay strong. You are not responsible for their reactions. You are responsible for your freedom. Breaking cycles is not just about external change, it's about internal healing. It means unlearning the lies you were taught about yourself. It means recognizing that you are worthy of love, peace, and happiness, even if you were never shown that as a child. Healing takes time, but it starts with one simple shift: forgiveness. Not for them, but for you. Let go of resentment, not to excuse their actions, but to free yourself from their hold. You are not what happened to you, you are what you choose to become. Stepping into your purpose. What if I told you that everything you've been through was not meant to break you, but to build you? That your struggles were not a punishment, but preparation. Chosen ones are placed in the darkest places because they are meant to bring the light. Your pain has given you wisdom, strength, and resilience that others don't have. Now, it's time to use it. To break the cycle, not just for yourself, but for the generations after you. This ends with you. The healing starts with you. And freedom, that belongs to you too. You are the chosen one. Now rise. You are the chosen cycle breaker. Have you ever looked at your family? The patterns, the pain, the dysfunction, and felt deep inside that you were different, that you didn't belong to the cycles of brokenness that have repeated for generations? That something inside you refuses to settle for the toxicity and chaos? That's not a coincidence, that's your calling. You are the chosen cycle breaker. While others accept the patterns as just the way things are, you've always questioned them. While others repeat the same toxic behaviors, you've felt an unshakable urge to break free. It's because you were sent here for a reason, to end what has enslaved your family for years, maybe even centuries. The struggles you faced weren't meant to destroy you, they were meant to shape you into the one strong enough to shatter the chains. Generational cycles don't break on their own. Abuse, addiction, emotional neglect, and deep-rooted pain pass down like an inheritance until someone refuses to accept it. That someone is you. You weren't born into your family by accident. The very dysfunction that once tried to break you is the proof that you were called to change the story. But being chosen doesn't mean it's easy. Being chosen doesn't mean it's easy. Being chosen it means you carry the weight of healing wounds you didn't create, of unlearning toxic patterns ingrained in your bloodline. It means standing alone at times, feeling misunderstood, and even battling the guilt of choosing yourself over the dysfunction you were born into. But here's the truth. You were not chosen to suffer. You were chosen to transform. Your past might have been filled with betrayal, rejection, and struggle. Maybe you grew up feeling unseen, unheard, or unloved. Maybe you carried wounds from parents who never healed their own. But your pain has not been in vain. It has been refining you, sharpening you, preparing you for the role only you can fulfill. You are not weak because you feel deeply. You are powerful because you refuse to become what hurts you. Where others numb themselves, you seek truth. Where others stay silent, you speak. Where others repeat the cycle, you break it. That is your power. Stepping into your destiny. The path of a cycle breaker is not easy, but it is sacred. Healing doesn't happen overnight, and at times it may feel like you're carrying the burden alone. But remember, you are never alone. God, the universe, and everything divine have placed you here with a purpose. And every step you take toward healing, toward growth, toward self-love, is a step toward freedom. Not just for you, but for generations to come. Your courage will be the reason your future children don't have to heal from the same wounds. Your strength will be the reason your lineage knows love, peace, and wholeness. You were born for this, so stand tall, walk boldly. The fact that you are here right now, reading this, means the cycle is already breaking. You are the shift. You are the light. You are the chosen cycle breaker. And the world will never be the same because of it. What does it really mean to walk in true freedom? Is it just about escaping toxic environments, cutting off negative people, or breaking free from past trauma? No. True freedom is much deeper. It's not just about what we walk away from, but what we walk into. It's about stepping into a life of power, purpose, and divine alignment. Too often we think of freedom as the absence of struggle, but in reality, freedom is the presence of something greater. Peace, purpose, and the ability to rise above what once held us back. The world teaches us that freedom is doing whatever we want, living without limits, and chasing temporary pleasures. But real freedom? It's when nothing, no pain, no past, no person has control over you anymore. Many of us were born into brokenness, toxic families, painful childhoods, rejection, and wounds that left invisible scars. We carry the weight of our past, believing we are prisoners to what happened to us. But here's the truth. Your past is not your prison, it's your preparation. Every hardship, every tear, every betrayal was not meant to destroy you, but to refine you. True freedom begins when you decide that your past will not define you. Forgiveness plays a huge role in this, not because those who hurt you deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Unforgiveness is a chain. Bitterness is a chain. Fear is a chain. And the moment you release them, you step into a new level of spiritual power. The power of walking in purpose. Freedom is not just about release. It's about direction. If you don't know where you're going, you'll always feel lost, even after breaking free. This is why chosen ones are called to something greater. You weren't just meant to survive, you were meant to transform, to rise, to lead. When you walk on purpose, distractions lose their grip. You stop being controlled by toxic people, by your past, by your pain. You realize that every storm you've been through was designed to prepare you for the light you're meant to carry. Embracing the authority given to you, walking in true freedom, means understanding the authority you carry. You are not just someone who has escaped pain, you are someone anointed to bring change. You are a cycle breaker, a generational curse destroyer. You were chosen to bring healing where there was hurt, to bring light where there was darkness. This is why the enemy fought you so hard. Why were you born into battles you never chose? Because if you ever truly realized the power within you, nothing could stop you. Freedom is a daily choice. True freedom is not a one-time event. It's a daily decision to walk in faith, not fear, to choose healing over hurt, to stand in your divine identity instead of letting the past define you. The chains have already been broken. It's time to step out of them. Walk boldly. Walk with purpose. Walk in true freedom. Because your destiny is waiting, and the world needs your light. Turning pain into purpose, the divine plan behind your struggles. Pain is something we all experience. Whether it's heartbreak, betrayal, rejection, or the weight of a toxic past, it can feel unfair, like a burden too heavy to carry. But what if your pain wasn't meant to break you, but to build you? What if the very wounds you've suffered are the seeds of something greater, something powerful, something divine? The truth is, God never wastes pain. Every hardship, every tear, and every moment of suffering is being used for a higher purpose. Romans 8:28 reminds us, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. This means that no matter how dark your past has been, God can transform it into something meaningful. Many of us grow up in environments that wound us deeply. Toxic families, abusive relationships, or feelings of never truly belonging. These struggles can make us feel like life is against us. But have you ever considered that your trials were not meant to destroy you, but to prepare you? Look at Joseph in the Bible. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. Yet through it all, God was positioning him for something greater. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph tells his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." His pain wasn't pointless. It was the very thing that positioned him for his purpose. And the same is true for you. Breaking the chains. You were chosen for more. If you've ever felt like the black sheep of your family, the one who sees things differently, who refuses to follow toxic patterns, it's because you were chosen to break the cycle. The pain you've endured has given you wisdom, resilience, and a deeper sense of awareness. Isaiah 61:1 declares, "The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners." You were not just meant to suffer. You were meant to rise, to break free, and to lead others into healing. So how do we transform our suffering into something meaningful? Shift your perspective to stop seeing your pain as a curse. Instead, ask, what is this teaching me? Every struggle carries a lesson that can shape your destiny. Use your story to inspire others. Your past is someone else's survival guide. The things you've overcome can bring hope to those still struggling. Let God lead you. Forgiveness feels impossible when healing seems out of reach. Lean into God's strength. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Step into your calling. Don't just survive, thrive. Use your pain to fuel your purpose, whether it's through helping others, sharing your testimony, or creating something that brings light into the world. Your pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to transform you. God is writing a story of redemption in your life, and if you let him, he will turn your pain into something powerful, something that will not only heal you, but inspire and uplift others. You were never just meant to suffer. You were meant to rise. Your pain has a purpose now. It's time to rise. You were never meant to be defined by your suffering. The hardships, the betrayals, the toxic family dynamics, these were not punishments, but preparations. Every tear you've shed, every battle you've fought, has shaped you into someone stronger, wiser, and more aware. You were not just meant to survive, you were meant to transform. When we look at Scripture, we see a pattern. God chooses the broken, the outcast, and the wounded to carry out his greatest works. Joseph was betrayed, yet he saved a nation. Moses was abandoned as a child, yet he led his people to freedom. David was overlooked, yet he became a king. Jesus himself was rejected, yet he became the Savior of the world. Their pain was never wasted. It was the very thing that qualified them for their purpose. And the same is true for you. God has entrusted you with a divine mission to break generational cycles, to shine light into darkness, and to show the world that healing is possible. Your past may have been filled with suffering, but your future is filled with purpose, power, and transformation. The very pain that tried to break you will become the foundation on which you build something extraordinary. But here's the truth. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey, a process that requires faith, perseverance, and trust in God's plan. Forgiveness, setting boundaries, embracing your calling, these are all steps toward freedom. It won't always be easy, but remember James 1:12, which says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him." So today, make a choice to stop seeing yourself as a victim of your past and start walking in the power of your calling. A choice to break free from bitterness and let God turn your pain into something beautiful. A choice to trust that everything you've been through was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to prepare you for something greater. You are not broken, you are chosen. You are not defeated, you are being refined. And you are not forgotten. God has been with you every step of the way. Now it's time to step into the purpose you were born for. The world needs your light. Will you let it shine?